Hey everyone, and welcome to the kickoff video for our image gallery project. And this project is meant for the very beginner, someone who has no experience whatsoever in web design, programming, development, you name it. We are going to be looking at the basics of HTML and CSS to create an image gallery static website and publish it. Now, if you are a seasoned veteran and you have been working with frameworks, this is also a good time to just get caught up on the fundamentals again. So, either way, we're happy to have you. Thank you for stopping by. Let's get right to it. My classroom students, you have received a GitHub repository starter code, and I have that on the screen right now. So, let's talk workflow. Two tabs should be open. This is one of them. So, you want this as a resource. So, what do I mean by that? Anything with a .md file on it that is marked down, that's the README file and the project specs. We want to be able to view this in GitHub because it's processing it with a browser. You don't want to view those two files in Cloud9, the IDE, because you'll be looking at the raw code. It's far more easier or user-friendly to look at it on the screen in GitHub, and that's what GitHub is. It is a user interface over the version control language of Git. So, as an example, the README, notice it's all in caps, traditionally .md, that is saying, hey, this is where we start. So, again, the title is Image Gallery. Take a look at the kind of request here, all work in projects. Please make sure you're doing all of the edits and work in the Cloud9 IDE. Never write or edit directly in the GitHub repository. So this is right now just for viewing and accessing resources. As you'll see down the road, there is so much more to GitHub and Git. But for now, that is our workflow. Have this open in one file. And in this project, as you can see, we are going to be looking at the key concepts throughout the entire project of basic HTML tags and their structure, intro to CSS styles and the structure, images, box model, you name it, all those 7 items. And second tab we want to open, please head on over to your integrated development environment. Non-classroom students, you could be using something like Visual Studio Code. My classroom, please make sure you're logging into the AWS Academy Learner Lab. Open up your Cloud9 environment. We have done all that work in previous lessons. So here is where we should sit. The final kind of administrative lesson allowed us to literally copy or clone down using the Git technology clone as in our command line interface. And we copied down everything that we are seeing in the GitHub repository here. Now, for an example, just we could pop open the project specs.amd, and there it is. It's the markdown language, not process. So I would not recommend you have this open here. It is much easier to view and far more clear to view, user-friendly, if you will, to look at it here. Okay? So, enough with that reminder. But we are going to be working with 2 files in Cloud9, and that's going to be your index.html and the style.css. So, how do we open that up or access it? We just double click on that file index.html and take a look what happens. A second tab is open within the editor. So now I could tab back and forth between the welcome file and index.html. I could even open, if I want to, another file, style.css, and go back and forth between the two. Now, at this point, I'm going to close out. So you see that X there. I'm going to X out of style.css because this video, this workflow right now, this moment, we're not going to use the CSS just yet. We will soon enough. But today it's just, or this moment is just about HTML. And now, second part of this is answering the essential question of, well, what is HTML? Let's head on back to our GitHub repository, go down to our README file, and 2 main resources we will be using all year, W3schools Online Web Tutorials and Mozilla Developer Network, MDN Web Docs. Both are awesome resources I'm using all the time. I will tell you that W3schools I tend to gravitate more towards for the basic ideas, and as we get more advanced in the year and years to come, MDN is a great resource, so we'll be taking advantage of both. But right now, let's open up the link, the hypertext link, as we were just saying, in our Markdown file. And by doing that, please, I would recommend you right-clicking on this rather than just clicking. Right-clicking will allow us to maintain that GitHub page open rather than using the back button back and forth. And we could go to the W3schools Hyperlink as well. So now we've got our third tab open. Here's W3schools.com. And so again, if you didn't have the starter code, you could go right here. This is a great resource. It is self-proclaimed as the world's largest web developer site. And take a look here. We have technologies right at the top: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are the three technologies we will be looking at across the course that my classroom students call CS Foundations. And let's head on over to the HTML part here. We've got three options: reference, tutorial, and learn. We're going to use the green button here for learn. And notice, just like an editor, we have a structure to this content on the left-hand side and then the content popping up on the right. Let's select HTML introduction, and not surprising, it has, as an introduction, an answer to our question. What is HTML? The ML stands for or represents markup language. Again, very similar to the Markdown. These are languages that are allowing the browser just for you to see basic content on a page, but processed in a user-friendly manner. Hypertext is the ability to take those presented pages processed by the browser and link them to other pages that are processed by the browser, hence the web. So HTML is hypertext markup language. It allows us to view documents with a browser on the web, Chrome or Internet Explorer, you name it, Safari, whatever the browser is, and allows us to link in a hyper speed very rapidly from one to the other. HTML is the standard markup language for creating web pages, and here is a simple document right here. The nice thing about W3schools and MDN Docs, they give you a lot of code that we could copy and paste. Copy would be Control-C, paste Control-V, but this, what I'm highlighting right now, is the simple structure of an HTML document, start to finish. But we're not going to copy and paste this yet. We're going to come back to this section and notice down below, it explains, and we'll talk about this in an upcoming video, what each represents. But right now, let's go over and utilize the fact in our IDE that this file is indicated with an extension .html. Come on over to the lower bottom right-hand corner of our editor. You see the HTML in capitalization. This is telling the browser that and the IDE that anything that is in this file will be processed with that technology hypertext markup language. So it also means we could do a little cheating. Do me a favor, move your cursor right at the end of this tag, and I'll explain what tags are in the next coming video. But very briefly, here is an example of a shortcut that these integrated development environments anticipate and allow us to make our life a little easier. Shift 1 puts an exclamation mark on the page, and now hit Tab. So Shift, exclamation mark, and Tab. And basically that anticipates what is very similar to what we just saw with W3schools. The structure of an HTML document from start to finish. So at this point, we are going to stop here. Come on up to File. We always want to save our work. You have two options. You could hit File, Save. You could continually go up to that menu. However, take a look to the right-hand side of the Save, Control-S. That is a hotkey, so once you are in the file, notice my cursor's at the bottom there, I could just hit Control-S, and now I have it saved. So, you want to save that because as we link even our work within files, if you don't save it, things aren't going to work. I always get caught up with that. All right, so a little review. We started off or kicked off the project with looking at resources within our GitHub repository. We used one of those resources, which was W3schools. And W3schools introduced us to what was HTML and gave us a little bit of a heads up about the basics of the structure. And then we got that structure started on our Cloud9 environment. We're going in the next video. We're going to actually explain this structure and do a little bit more work with it. I really appreciate you coming out. I hope this was beneficial to you and you learned a little bit. We'll see you in the next one, everyone.